and there'll be 3 pairs of soap. There'll be red, amber, blue and green, sort of simulation of the Indian flag, and you get 5 rupees off on pear soap. At that point in time, the MRP of pear soap used to be 1950. I remember it because I cost the company a couple of crores because of my error of judgment. So it was late in the evening, and this ad would come out every year on Independence Day. The year I made the mistake was the last time. After that, the company never ran that ad again. So ad got printed in a newspaper, and it was basically an exchange offer. Carry this coupon into an outlet and you get 5 rupees off on the soap. So I get a call from my sales officer at 5:30 in the evening saying, you know, boss, I've got this guy who's got 10,000 of these coupons. Should I give it to him? So I said, yeah, if he's got 10,000 coupons, sure, give it to him. But make sure you have those 10,000 coupons. Gave him 10,000. 2 days later, I got another call saying, boss, another guy has come, he's got 25,000. 25,000? Are you sure? But where? What is the circulation of newspapers? So I said, he said, find out all that. But he said, but he's standing out there, should I give it to him? So I said, yeah, let me check circulation of this sort of Vijay Karnataka or whatever. And I'll get back to you. But if he's there, you make sure you have the coupons. Okay. 25,000. Gone. By that time, I had come back to the branch. I had sort of asked a few people, what is the circulation of this newspaper? It figured that in North Karnataka, the circulation of this newspaper was only 10,000. So a couple of wholesalers had got in cahoots with the newspaper guy and printed only that page. And a whole lot of wholesalers had bought it. And so, naive as I was, I had already given the go-ahead for a couple of about 40,000-50,000 of these redemptions, which cost the company a significant amount of money. And business school frameworks, case studies never prepare you for what Nassim Taleb would call a black swan event. Prior to that happening to you, you never knew that wholesalers could be so devious as to get into bed with a sort of newspaper printer and reprint that particular page. So after that, you know it's possible and you never trust a wholesaler again in your life. Anyway, so then when you sort of find a situation where you have a team and you're leading a large number of people, 10, 12 people, and they're all managers, and you sort of you're heavily invested in them in terms of the time you spent making them self-aware, acquainting them with their strengths and the like. At the end of the year, you have to force rank them. There's this nasty thing in the corporate world called force ranking, where your performance for a full year is finally brought down to a statistic like you're a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. And if you have the misfortune of leading a team of 10 people, then there has to be a 1 and there has to be a 5, because there are fixed percentages that you have to allot to each person. And it's always very difficult to do that authentically and honestly, and it's probably one of the reasons why I in the long term don't see myself being a very good corporate kind of person, because I don't sort of personally identify with signing numbers. Equally, asking somebody to resign, very often the decision is not yours, it's a much larger organizational thing. Structure changes, there's huge pressure on bottom line, you need to reduce the number of employees. You're sitting across the table with somebody and really costing not just him, but his whole family, a livelihood. That's a big one too. Disciplining and of course running. So when I first found myself running a meeting with a large guy, so I told the guys a lie on the first day. I said I'm 26. Hoping that, you know, they'd say, oh, this guy's 26, he's not 22, they might listen to me a little more and stuff like that. But really, it freaked the shit out of me. Anyway, so all you spend a significant amount of money to come here. I went to the website and figured out the ballpark 40K. So obviously there's some reason, right, why a lot of people go and sort of, including me, so I tell everyone, you know, I went and did an MBA, but I'm not a master of business administration, okay? I'm a novice at it because I'm still learning. So what are the things that out of a B school education, I sort of think, this is just my perspective, is what gives you some value for your money, and the stuff that really stays with you and contributes to you being better is, I think, how you manage your time. In a B school, you're always under tremendous pressure, so time management is a big one. It gives you a framework for NASA. I'll come back to frameworks a little later in terms of why they're important. Impossible bosses are like par for the course these days, so they say, I want it by tomorrow, give it to me in the next 3 hours, that kind of thing. The ability to, for a sustained period of time, go through lean spells. All organizations have times where sailing is smooth and have times where, you know, it's pressure all the time. Deadlines, working weekends, team assignment, cutthroat competition, handling gossip, big part of working life. But most importantly, at least from my sample set, and I have quite a few, a lot of people end up finding like their partner for life at B school. So that's like a priceless sort of something that you can't assign value to. So even 40K is like little. But most importantly, anyone recognizes this guy? It's probably one of the preeminent statisticians in the world. Book, if anyone recognizes? Incentivize you. Okay, so this guy is Marcus Buckingham. He spent his whole life at the Gallup Institute to do like tons and tons of surveys and all. And he wrote this very interesting book called The One Thing You Need to Know. So basically, there anything in the world, you bring it down to one thing. Yeah, so I think so. What is the one discriminating thing in my view that a B school education offers you? It's this. And it's really not for you, it's for a corporate. Because if you actually think about it, it's mind-blowingly difficult for any organization looking for great talent to scout like billions of people across the world and find high-quality talent to sort of build your talent pipeline. So really the biggest, in my view at least, discriminating advantage of B-school education doesn't really offer you. For you really it's a $40,000 check you pay for an interview with a consult or an investment bank. But more importantly for a corporate, it's an outstanding way of cutting costs. Because all of a sudden you just have to fly your guys down and you have like this sea of really great talent and you get the best. So that's my view. Hey, so before we go a little further, book going again, who are these two guys? Okay, both of them, they don't look similar, they aren't twins. It's not like inverted. Who's the other guy?
George Soros.
Huh?
Soros.
Oh, Charlie Munger, well done. Okay, so yeah, Charlie Munger. Both these guys were actually partners that founded the Berkshire Hathaway Corporation. And by Buffett's own admission, the real brain or the real think tank wasn't him, but Charlie T. Munger. So this guy had a very interesting, so he wasn't an MBA, but he was like really sharp and well acknowledged. And he said his whole way of working and analysis of stuff that people offered him and the way he ran the entire corporation was based on this. He said in his lifetime he had built a lattice work of about 100 mental models. With really thumb rules, heuristics that whenever he was appraising an investment or making an investment decision, he just went to some of these. And I think you'll be well advised to, in the course of your time over here, start to build some of these mental models for yourself. Let me just give you an example of a few. So example, over my 10 years, I have a few lattice works around incentives. So my view on incentives is incentivize around pride rather than money. Because money neither gets the best of people nor the best in people. My lattice work on that. Incentivize only if the task is purely a physical task. You want somebody to hammer more than 10 nails in? Surely, if I give you more money, you'll hammer harder. If it's a more right brain task that requires creativity, then under no circumstance incentivize. Okay, so just thumb rules like that. So that when somebody comes with you with a proposal saying, you know, we want to increase sales, we want to double sales, should we run a contest? Your reference point immediately in your mind is some of these mental models that you build for yourself. Mental models again around delegation. What kind of work should I delegate? Who should I delegate it to? What's the basis of delegation be? Is the person receiving it going to welcome it or not want it? Questions you ask yourself whenever you delegate. Some laws of performance. So whenever it comes to sort of giving somebody work, I ask myself, well, I'm setting the guy up for success or failure. And my 3 laws of performance are, of course this is reasonably complex English, so don't try and struggle too much to understand it, is the way a person performs correlates with the way in which a situation occurs to him. If you see yourself as having control of what's happening to you, you perform better. If you see yourself as, I have no option, my boss forced me to do this, performance is lower. My thumb rule. So I make an effort to ensure that whenever I'm having a performance conversation or giving somebody, the person has a say in it. Stuff like that. Stuff around motivation, stuff around nudges. So I told you about one of my theories around nudges. That constantly keep people in the know that you're checking. Yeah. So I think a powerful nudge is do a surprise visit every now and then. Out of that small action, everyone in the field knows that when Steve comes to the market, I can't dress the market up and show him a picture that isn't real. So it just takes one surprise market visit in a year, but it's down. So it's in my mental framework. Equally, some stuff that they don't teach you in BSCOM, I'm just going to give you a few frameworks that I use when I lead my teams. Yeah, because I think this is again an area about how you manage large teams that isn't taught. The first thing is about understanding as a line manager that each person has a fundamentally different style of learning. Yeah. So again, Mr. Marcus Buckingham said people have 3 styles of learning. So can anyone give me the other 2? What are the other 2 styles? One style is analyzing. So you say, give me the data, let me go through it, and then we have a chat. That's the analyzing style. Gut feeling. You learn by gut feeling.
By imitating.
Learn by doing. Okay. So give him a book, please. Yeah. Some people learn by doing. Yeah. They say, let me just do it. I do it, and I learn along the way. Okay.
Observing.
Okay. You said observing. Okay. Watching or observing. So the third way people learn is by watching. And very often when you're leading a large team, each person in your team learns a different way. And the easiest way for you as a leader is to say, this is my style, swim or sing. That's the way most people sort of approach it. But you figure that if you actually try and understand how each person's choice of learning is. So for example, when ever a trainee joins the company and sort of I end up being his coach or mentor in some form, my first conversation with the guy is always devoted to understanding what kind of learner he or she is. Because if I have that piece of information, then the kind of projects that I will ask him to do in the course of the next 3 months are completely different. If his style is analyzing, I tell him, get hold of all the market share reports, get hold of all the penetration, all the consumption reports, and build some sort of hypothesis about what's happening in the area. If his learning style is doing, I tell him, why don't you go and work 20 beats and figure out which brands are flying off the shelf and which aren't. If his learning style is watching, I tell him, this is the most experienced TSO or the most experienced salesman in my team. I want you to work with him and observe closely what he's doing and write a note about what you think are his qualities that make him a great salesman. Setting the guy up for success if you base your input to the guy on his style of learning. More often than not, my observation is that people in the corporate world play drafts rather than chess. What's the essential difference between drafts and chess?
There's no distinction between the coins.
Okay? Yeah? So fundamentally in drafts, all the coins move the same way. But in chess, each coin moves differently. And if you look at people on your team, I believe good managers play drafts, effective managers, but the really outstanding ones play chess. Let me just explain to you what I mean. So Marcus Buckingham wrote in this book, the one thing you need to know about great managing is that great managers figure out what's unique about each person and capitalize on it. And it involves a significant amount of effort to truly figure out, if you are leading a team of 10 or 12 people, what's unique about each person. Or what Seth Godin would call the purple cow in each person. Something that you can be sort of world class at. Something that's intrinsically a strength. Something that you've been doing from the time you're a child, which is your talent. You've sort of invested in it over a period of time and built some skill and knowledge. And this is just a grid that I have on my desk when I was a regional sales manager with my team and myself, saying this is what each person is really good at. This is what each person's unique strength is. So the ones that are black boxes with white in the back is a strength that somebody